bars. This is from 35.95, which is, by the way, below prior day's high, below Globex high, which was right here. Okay, unable to get above the high, unable to test Globex high, and open drive lower. Okay, with the first 5-minute bar, right, being the high, never penetrated. Now, the other thing that we know about NQ is that for the last 6 months, NQ has been leading ES around by the nose. Okay, so the first thing that we know is by the time the first hour is up, and then the last piece I mentioned, this trend line. And this is, by the way, exactly why I don't trade trend lines. But you'll notice this has been respected. Okay, this has been respected since way back here. This is where we started. This is 1, 2. We're on day 3 of this trend line, and you'll see each time that we came close to tagging it, we found responsive buyers. It obviously failed here. This failure is prior to 9 a.m. and also notice lack of counter rotation of any size. Look how much bigger the move is to the downside than it is anything to the upside. The moves up are minuscule compared to the moves down. So these are all big clues that you just have to make note of as quickly as possible when you're trading. The other thing that I wanted to point out is this is Globex low. This is Globex high. Prior to 9 a.m., we're already below Globex low on NQ. That should be setting off huge warning signs. Now, if we look at the same picture over here, and we look at ES, okay, this is that same 9 a.m. time frame. Look at this. We are just casually floating around like nothing's going on. We're inside this up channel that we've had. This is the uptrend, the bottom of the uptrend line that we've had going back to that same period of time. So there's fewer clues here. First of all, the first 5-minute bar got penetrated above, right? But you'll notice it wasn't able to hold above. It just kind of wicked above and rejected into this area. As I said, this area, if you're an aggressive trader, is a good place. And again, this is in that market preview. I said it's a good place if you're an aggressive trader. We're all aggressive, just depends on how aggressive, right? But the most aggressive traders will often try to take it out of Globex high. Why? Because a lot of times you can nail it for a huge rotation down. Now, did I know the market was going to roll over to the downside today? No, but I did point out that both on NQ and ES, that this area, the general area that we were opening up in, was a significant retrace from the lows all the way back up, from the swing highs all the way down to the swing lows, and that generally that's a good place to launch a trade down to the short side. And I'm going to get to how the zones play out in this in just a moment, and also how the my trading rules, had I been here, would have kept me safe. As it was, I wasn't. My wife was not feeling well, and I was at the doctor's office. But that being said, okay, so we know that NQ is already below prior day's low, while NQ's below Globex low, while ES is holding above. Okay, we know we've gotten rejection and unable to test Globex high. Okay, and we're also seeing a lot of choppiness, right? We actually don't have very much reaction right into the first hour of the day. Okay, but after the first hour, obviously that trend started to pick up, and really where I would have become concerned, I was actually had mentioned in pre-market that there was not a zone at I'm going to remove this really quick. There's not a zone at Globex low, because I thought it was in a particularly weak area, and that the better trade location would have been in this 53 to 55 area. Okay, so of course this did occur at 10 a.m. If you took an entry in this area, it was a fine entry. You had a great rotation down all the way from above. I would have expected at least a counter rotation back up, right, to retest this 57.50 area at a minimum, right? As it was, it turned out that this was a particular day where we were about to begin a massive rollover to the downside, right? And in that rollover to the downside, you'll notice that we just pretty much swept the zone, right? They try to hold it, but even in here, I want to point something out, and I want to make this pretty big. Occasionally, you just kind of get unlucky. Okay, we tagged this bid to the tick, this 2-point stop to the tick, right? So this is 55 to 53, 2-point stop in the back. This is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes. Now, that's just sometimes pure dumb luck that the market ticked us out before we got to our 25-minute timer. But I want to show you something. If you weren't disciplined, you didn't simply take your stop like you were supposed to, okay, and you try to fight this thing all day long, look at the line of carnage all the way down. That would keep going all the way down to 1824. That's a lot of money, guys. Okay. The next thing I want to point out about discipline and focus, I say every day, the prime times to trade are from 8:30 a.m. right up until 11 a.m. Now, on this particular zone, if you got stopped out, that's fine. The stop is designed to keep you safe, not to cause you harm, right? There's nothing to be disappointed about if you got stopped. That's part of the cost of doing business. However, if you took a trade right here, okay, you have to ask yourself, what are your odds of being successful after you've traded at 11 o'clock? And I got to tell you, zones get busted a lot after 11 a.m. A lot, okay? Also, one thing that you need to look at, here was really where we started the breakdown process, okay? And they were attempting, as you can see, we were attempting to get rotation back up, and it just failed, right? But at this point, when you're looking at 11 a.m. and you go back and look at this morning, you can kind of go all of a sudden going, huh, the rotations up actually aren't very good. We're really not getting any snap to the upside, right? At the same time, right, here's the prior day's low. We're still holding above prior day's low in ES. However, if you look at the same time period on NQ, excuse me, okay, this is 11 a.m. This is prior day's low. We're already trading below prior day's low, and there's no responsive buying whatsoever. This thing is just getting hammered. Okay, so ES and NQ aren't directly related, okay, but when the market's getting hammered like this, guys, there's just you're just not going to find one surviving the other. It's just not going to happen. This was simply a break. At this point at 10:30, we broke below prior day's low, came up for backside test, and then continued with a downside move. Very simple, very direct, actually quite an elegant pattern. This is trend day down all day. The trend just simply never broke. Okay. The next thing that I had mentioned, I'm going to pull this up real quick. So in the morning, if you'll look, and I want to show you this. Okay, so coming into the AM here, I put down that, let's see, let's come up just a little bit earlier. Okay, so right in here, I put at 8:47 a.m. that NQ was leading to the downside, right? Then I put NQ apparently open drive lower, ES showing relative strength, and wow, I'm using a new voice recognition software. What that should say is, but we've seen this show before, meaning NQ, right, has led ES around by the nose. So that's obviously a should have given you a heads up at the minimum, right? And then I pointed this out at 9:22 a.m. Now where are we at 9:22 a.m.? We are right here. This is 9:22. 9:22 a.m. is right when we're trading. Right in here. Okay, and let me pull this back up really quick. I put trend line up from yesterday is currently in the middle of a very poorly auctioned area, and I would not trade based on that trend line alone. Then at 9:58, I had to go with my wife to a doctor's appointment, unfortunately, and I said, guys, I had to leave now. I should be back. I still think 55 to 53 offers best location, right? 55 to 53 puts us first time into the zone. Of course, we broke right at that point, but normally that would be fantastic trade location. Stop helped you out. But then look, well, once I got back, okay, this is at 12:20 p.m. I put, I'm not looking long here, guys, closer to 27, 25 maybe, right? Now that's at 12:20. What time is this? That puts us right in this area right here, somewhere right here in the zone. I started typing it at least right here. Right now, a couple of things about this zone that are important, right? First of all, if you look at this, I have a couple of things going here. First of all, I have a 25-minute rule max in these zones, right? And in that rule, I have a 5, 10, 15, 20. We're already in here for 25 minutes on this zone. 25, 30, 35 minutes. This thing spent 35 minutes in this zone before breaking. This is over New York lunch, again, which is usually super choppy, and that's what we got. There was no reason, zero reason why anyone took any more than a 2-point loss here, and there's really no reason to take any loss in here. 5, 10, 15, 20. At 25 minutes, you were basically sitting approximately half a point to a point below your worst case scenarios. You could have moved your stop to swing low. That would have been your worst case scenario. But look, no rotation up. We're moving down. We're busting zones with no rotation up. We're over New York lunch. There was not a lot of reason to lose. And then the other thing that I was trying to point out that I pointed out in the morning, and I labeled this zone. If I can pull this in, I think I have it here. Maybe I didn't have it. There we go. Weak zone, tested multiple times. And on top of that, when we were up here at 12:20, I was saying I would not take a trade here. And I said, where am I looking? Based on the lack of rotation, 12:27 to 12:25. We traded approximately 5 ticks behind this zone right here, and then got a rotation up from 25 to approximately 33, roughly. That's an 8-point rotation back up. So if you were going to trade in the afternoon, and again, there was no reason to, it was the last hour, right? But if you're going to trade in the afternoon, you have to know where to look and bring your gaze down to where we're going to probably find responsive buyers, right? And this is exactly what we got. So again, I think this whole area has been well tested, this 34 to 32, and I would actually look to areas lower below here for longs. But there were signs, and as early as 12:20, right, when I tweeted all the way back up here, that this zone was looking already was looking quite weak. And then the place to put, even though we got responsive buyers out of here the first time, I still think the best trade location was down here at 1825, 1827. And the last piece is, we don't get many rip down days like this, guys. It just doesn't happen a lot. The cool thing is it's going to set up some really good trading days going forward. But the bottom line is that there was plenty of signs that this thing was about to rip to the downside, and the only stop that you should have had to deal with today to the downside should have been right here. And there were even clues at this point that perhaps you shouldn't be taking this trade, right? And certainly no one should have lost money here into New York lunch. It was already clear that the zones were getting busted and that we weren't holding. New York lunch is a terrible time of day to be trading, in my opinion, as people bitterly found out who tried to take contra trades today. And like I said, I thought all of this, obviously even before we got to today, I thought this area was a weak zone. It was a zone, right? You can see that we got responsive selling first time back up in there, right? But that I thought it was a weak zone, that this was better and that this was better. So that's my trade review for ES. The takeaways I would take from this is simply that, don't keep taking losses on a day like today. It can crush you. This is why I'm against just taking positions and hoping the market will rebound. There's always a comeuppance. I've spoken to multiple people who've given back well more than 50% of their trading accounts in the last 2 weeks from what they've earned over the last 4 and 5 months. And that really, really sucks. There's not a need to ever draw if your account's down more than 20%, in my humble opinion, stop trading, go get help. You don't have the right trading plan. There's no reason why you should be down 20% in your trading account at all. There's plenty of professional traders that would agree with me on that. That's just too much. If you can't precisely place a futures trade, you're either trading with too much leverage or you don't have a solid trading plan, one of the two, and you need to fix one or the other because something's wrong. Additionally, watch out for the hype on the cheerleading on the moves to the upside. Market moves in nice fat rotations. Last piece was pay attention to NQ. It gave you a lot of heads up. I want to see if there was anything else that I'm missing, but I don't think there is. Just don't let any one day or any one trade matter. Even if you took a stop here, man, let me tell you, if you took a stop here and you stopped trading and you were going to counter trade back to and you're a counter trader back to the upside, this was the smartest stop you took all day long, was right here. Why? This is the first place you should have gotten responsive selling and responsive buying, and the fact that you didn't gave you a lot of information. Okay, so anyways, that's all I got, guys. I sure hope that helped y'all out. I am very tired. I still need to finish setting up the trade plan for tomorrow. We do have Michigan consumer sentiment numbers at just before the 9 a.m. Central Time hour, 8:55 specifically, and I believe we have some econ at 7:30 in the morning. Tomorrow is going to be a very interesting day. You'll clearly want to watch NQ for guidance. If it's strong, we could see a rebound. If it's weak, it could really be an ugly day tomorrow. So no predictions, just making preparations. And I think that's all I got. If you have any questions, you can reach me at tradingperform@gmail.com, or you can hit me on StockTwits or Twitter. Have a good night, everyone. We'll talk to you tomorrow in the morning.